Ready now. Okay, if, we'll ready to start the committee of the whole meeting, if the board had, ready? Okay, good evening. The hour being 7:05 PM on Monday, February 13th, 2023. I'd like to call to order the Village of Brookfield Committee of the whole meeting. Bridget, can we have a roll call for the committee meeting, please?
Trustee Ketchmark?
Here.
Trustee Hendricks?
Here.
Trustee Conroy?
Here.
Trustee Leclerc?
Here.
And President Garvey.
Here. Thank you. We have one item on the agenda under regular business, a discussion of case number 23-01, a request for a special use permit to operate a warehouse for vehicles associated with the transportation company at 8939 Ogden Avenue. As always, we have a very detailed committee item memo along with the Planning and Zoning Commission minutes, but our village planner, Kate Portillo, is here to provide a kind of an overview of the case and answer any questions, and then we can open up to board discussion and public comment from there.
Thank you, President Garvey and honorable trustees. As President Garvey mentioned, this is case 2301. The request comes from Premier Luxury Transportation, LLC, a company that was founded in 2022, is currently based out of Lyons, and they are interested in storing the 6-vehicle fleet at 8939 Ogden Avenue. This is a building in the C1 zoning district, and the office located on the south end of the building, which is off of Ogden Avenue, is a permitted use. The warehousing of vehicles is a special use. So the request is before you. The petitioner, by state law, is required to have a location where the state can inspect their livery vehicles. They have indicated that all maintenance, cleaning, any other incidentals needed related to the vehicles is not taking place on site, but they did emphasize the location having access to all of their needs on Ogden Avenue in Brookfield specifically. I have identified related land use plans and the goals that relate to this request, the most recent being the 2022 Energize Ogden Plan, which outlines primary facade materials, one of which that is acceptable is brick, and 0 setback recommendation. So that's the street wall there, the pedestrian street wall. So the site does meet those requirements, but the Energize Ogden Plan calls out business facade and signage improvements as a corridor goal. The 2018 Comprehensive Plan, specifically the Ogden Avenue sub-area plan, speaks to vehicle storage unaligned with long-term corridor character, and the plan speaks to enhancing aesthetics through landscaping, screening, and signage updates when considering the continuation of vehicle-related uses. So this petition request, once again, is for a warehouse use related to the need to have a location for these vehicles to be stored when they are not in operation. And on the 26th of January, the Planning and Zoning Commission heard this request, deliberated aspects of the request, and by unanimous favorable recommendation, advanced this to you for discussion with no conditions. I did want to note that the business owner, Mr. Jeremy Camacho, had an unforeseen circumstance that prevented him from being at this meeting, but he has sent one of his employees, Joey Sanchez, to represent the business and answer any questions that may arise.
Okay, I will have him come up if the board members have any direct questions or comments. We appreciate you being here tonight. After the staff presentation, are there any questions or comments from the board?
I have a couple. I know I asked this at the planning commission meeting about an exhaust fan or some kind of exhaust system in this garage. It seems to me that if you've got 5 vehicles parked in there, regardless of,
Could we, everybody pause for just a second? I think the clerk's tape recorder, the batteries need to be changed, so I know so if we could just, everyone just pause for a second.
I think there's some in the drawer.
hold that thought.
I leave them there for Mark.
Now the bridge is not here, we can say it never happened when Kathy Edwards was here. There was some in this drawer, but I think they were. Okay, just for the record, there was a temporary pause when the recording device used by the village clerk, the batteries, stopped working, so there was a pause, and we'll resume at 7:11. Thank you. Forgot who I interrupted, trustee Hendricks.
So, the exhaust fan, it was surprising to me that the business owner did not seem to think that it would be necessary to install something like that when he had that many vehicles parked indoors, sort of adjacent to his office space. I understand that he believes that it would be safe just to turn them off, but I would want to make sure, absolutely sure, that it's a safe situation if they're actually going to be parking those vehicles in there. My second point is, thank you so much for looking into the Energize Ogden plans and the comprehensive plan as relates to this. We have so few opportunities to improve that corridor because it requires the partnership of those property owners. And this is one of those opportunities, one of those rare opportunities where it's coming in front of us and we potentially could put conditions on some sort of special use that would include some things like facade improvements, or it would include landscape improvements. I'm not sure if that's necessarily the way to go on this, but one thing I know is that I would really like to see our zoning guidelines updated so that when these things do come in front of us, we've got real design guidelines about what needs to be incorporated into these kinds of businesses to get curb appeal along this corridor, because it is one of our main goals for that corridor. And I'm not sure that those are questions that need to be answered. I suppose they're just comments. I'm not sure that that's something that we can act on with this, because it would require some sort of condition, and it would require taking out pavement in order to put landscaping. But I guess I wanted to put it out there that a zoning update needs to be in the works if we want to be able to catch these sorts of changes and opportunities.
Okay. Okay, I'm asking, if you wanted to respond at this point in terms of how guidelines could or could not be incorporated or should, based on staff's recommendation at this time, or is that something we'll address in the future?
So, I would make a few comments. I would say that the Planning and Zoning Commission opted to not put conditions on the special use permit. However, that is a opportunity not unique to our municipality and often exercised in municipalities, that conditions can be put on such a thing. That's at its core the purpose of a special use permit, to suss out some of these details. The petitioner, as is indicated in the minutes, did express a willingness to improve the facade, but that's not captured in any sort of official way at this time. The petitioner is also aware of the Property Improvement Program grant and the eligibility of this site. Specific to the addition of landscaping, because this property has a 0 setback and Ogden Avenue is a state road, the potential solution that would be, I would say, most easily implemented would be to attach some sort of planters to the wall. So those are my comments, and that's all I have.
Is the parking lot adjacent to it, that part of that property, or is it the adjacent property?
No, the lot is under the ownership of the same property owner who owns this building, and he did speak at the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, and there are, I apologize that my recollection, I believe it's 8 spaces dedicated to this business. So you can actually see them on the left side of the screen. There's a white vehicle parked in those spaces, and that property owner did repave that lot in the last few years.
Questions or comments from the board?
So I hear you saying that this is included with Energize Ogden because of the potential for facade improvements or landscape improvements, but that necessarily isn't the case here. They've just expressed a willingness to make some improvements potentially.
What it is that Energize Ogden is a adopted plan that makes recommendations. That's different than policy represented in the code.
Okay, but basically this is just going to be a staging yard for high-end limousines or whatnot. That, I mean, this isn't bringing anybody into town. This isn't a retail establishment. We're not going to, there's no sales tax that's going to be generated from this.
I can't speak to the taxation system that applies to this, but the vehicles would be in the building.
There won't be any sales tax.
Okay. And currently the building is vacant
The building is vacant, that's correct.
and has been for some time, or?
That's my understanding, yes. The Planning and Zoning Commission report did provide some interior photographs of the property. The property owner did invest in interior improvements within the last 3 years. It's a unique configuration in that there is an office right off of Ogden Avenue there, and then there is a firewall that separates the office space from the rear of the building, but that is an open floor plan storage area, generally speaking.
If, regarding the landscaping issue or desire to incorporate landscape, what I understand was it's 0 lot line, it's built to the front lot line, and with it being a state route, is it IDOT has required setbacks that someone couldn't plant in the parkway? Is that?
I was specifically responding to the possibility of tearing up concrete
Okay.
to plant. That would not be part of this parcel.
The concrete in the front is not part of the parcel owned by this
Correct.
applicant?
That's the right of way.
Okay, because I mean, I think the idea of improving the, the view on the front and not having solid concrete walls on it, but I guess I'm curious as to what this applicant could do in terms of landscaping if that's not his property. Is there some thought or suggestion that he could put landscaping somewhere?
There is an opportunity in the parking lot adjacent, but it is a new parking lot, so that's, we would have to decide if we thought that that was even possible, or if it was something that we desired.
So, was there a discussion of, or is there thought about requiring to put landscaping in the parking lot?
Parking lot landscaping was not discussed at the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Okay. I was curious, because I know some of these properties have the zero lot line in front, and I don't. The curb appeal, looking at it from Ogden Avenue, you know, theoretically could be improved if there was space in the front, but the idea of planters mounted the building and other aesthetic improvements that way, I was just trying to clarify for my thoughts.
We don't have any pictures in our packet. We just have the one picture of the front of the building.
Yes, they would be in the Planning and Zoning Commission packet, just to clarify that.
Other questions, comments from the board at this time? Is there any member of the public that would like to specifically comment on this case at this time? Barb, if you'd like to come up to the microphone again. And again, if we could just, for the record, have your name again, please.
Barbara Dom, 4513 Park Avenue in Brookfield. And as I had mentioned earlier, I've been living in Brookfield since about 1977, 1978. Any of the board members who have been in Brookfield for that length of time can also remember what Ogden Avenue looked like. We had, to my recollection, when I moved in, we had 3 restaurants, an Italian restaurant, and 2 were Polish Bohemian style cooking. We had a furniture store. This is on Ogden. We had a lamp shop. And I do believe we had a hardware store and new car dealerships. I think we need to realize that that's not going to happen in Brookfield anymore. As far as the new car dealerships, they want huge, huge lots that we just don't have in Brookfield. And the restaurants were all individually owned. They were not chains. I don't really see that happening. I think it's very difficult to have any kind of a large restaurant that would be individually owned. So although it would be nice, it just isn't going to happen. It's my understanding that from when it comes to property taxes, obviously if something's owned by the government, there is no property tax being paid. If it's an empty lot, there's a reduced amount of property taxes paid because the lot hasn't been improved. And if the building, such as maybe this one, and I don't know for sure, but the owner, if it's vacant for over a year, the owner can apply for a reduction in their property taxes. All of these minuses off of the property tax roll get spread to the rest of us. And so I think, in my opinion, we need to, I look at all of this as being lemons. And we need to turn the lemons into lemonade. And I think this gives us an opportunity, just like the one village trustee Hendricks had said, we have an opportunity of bringing in a business. I don't understand the concept of no, what is it, no, without any, what is it?
Setbacks?
No, the other thing, that it was approved with no conditions. I don't know exactly what that means. If it's obviously no conditions, mean you're not putting in a request, I don't agree with. I think we need to make sure that, again, curb appeal, which is what realtors use for private property, we need to think of curb appeal with the businesses too. The building looks kind of scary looking because there's nothing pretty about it. I'm not saying that it should be a part of the criteria that maybe some of these buildings, the brick needs to be cleaned. If these buildings are what, 50, 60, 70 years old, you've had all of the dirt, the dust, the fumes coming out of cars and trucks and buses hitting the brick buildings. And when some of these buildings, when they're cleaned up, these are nice-looking brick buildings. As far as landscaping, forget the landscaping. On the north side of Ogden, where you have the setbacks and you do have an area to plant, I think that can be very attractive. But when you have a building all the way up to the sidewalk, forget about it. It's not going to happen. I don't see and even planter boxes. There was a couple years ago, the gas station over on Ogden and Prairie. He had the huge flower pots by the pumps with flowers planted in it. They never watered the flowers. So, if you don't water the plants, and I think maybe, one of our other trustees can be assured of that, or any of you homeowners, if you don't water your plants, you're not going to have evergreens, you're going to have everbrowns. And so just eliminate the concept, at least when a building is all the way up to the sidewalk. Don't make landscaping requirement. There should be other ways to beautify the building. I think there needs to be a criteria with signage on how they advertise. Forget the posters that are only there for a week or 2 weeks and they're going to take them down. We need to use this building as an example for other property owners on Ogden as to how a building could be made attractive. And at the same time, it would attract other businesses to move in. And we just need to accept the idea that we're not going to have the kind of businesses that we had back in 1950 and 1960. We even, from looking at one of the Facebook things of then and now with Brookfield, there was even a restaurant that specialized in chicken. We're not going to have it. It would be nice. Maybe in the middle of the century we might have it, but I'm not going to be around. And I do support it, but I think we need to work with not only the tenant, but the property owner to make sure that they're able to put their best foot forward. And at the same time, they're going to be now paying the full share of their property taxes. And isn't that kind of, the ultimate role of everything in Brookfield, to get the businesses started? Yes, ideally, it would be nice if he found a place maybe on 47th or in another section of Brookfield. But maybe this is just the eye-opener to bring in other businesses that have some type of a specialty. And so therefore, I support it. That's about it.
Thank you, Barb.
Thank you.
Is there any other member of the public that wants to specifically comment on this issue? Based on those comments, does the board have any further questions or comments? Okay, we'll put this up in 2 weeks for board action. We'll give the other trustees that are not present a chance to review the agenda item, committee memo, and talk to staff and get input, and everyone can think about it. We'll put it up for a vote in 2 weeks. The gentleman that's here for the applicant, was there anything you wish to say? You don't have to say anything, but thank you for being here tonight. So we'll, 2 weeks from tonight on the 27th, we'll put it up for a board vote. Okay, that's the only item we had up under regular business. One more time, I'll open up the committee of the whole to general public comment. Is there anybody on this side that has any general public comment? Seeing that, anybody on this side, any general public comment? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to entertain a motion at 7:28 to go into executive session pursuant to Section 2C5 of the Open Meetings Act regarding the purchase or lease of real property for the use of the public body, including meetings held for the purposes of discussing whether a particular parcel should be acquired, and pursuant to Section 2C11 of the Open Meetings Act related to litigation when an action against, affecting, or on behalf of the particular public body has been filed and is pending before a court or administrative tribunal, or when the public body finds that an action is probable or imminent, in which case the basis for the findings shall be recorded and enter into the minutes of the closed meeting. Is there a motion to go into executive session for those purposes?
So moved.
The motion to go into executive session was made by trustee Leclerc and second by trustee Ketchmark. Roll call, please.
Trustee Ketchmark?
Aye.
Trustee Hendricks?
Aye.
Trustee Conroy?
Aye.
Trustee Leclerc?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, we're adjourned into executive session at 7:29 PM. We're going to conduct it here in the board